I've just been informed that we're now live, so we'll commence the meeting. Good morning and welcome to this application for a new premises licence for Aldi at 182 Old Shoreham Road, Bravo November 3 7 Echo X-ray. Before we kick off, could I just ask the councillors on the panel to, amongst themselves, elect a chair for this meeting, please?
Yes, I nominate Councillor McGregor.
And I'll second it.
Well, there we go.
Councillor McGregor, you're the chair.
Perfect, thank you very much. So we'll just go through the procedural business first. So any declarations of substitute? I'm a substitute for Councillor Samir Begin.
Hi, and I am a substitute for Councillor Ivan Lyons.
And any declarations of interest? All right. And there's no public names on this agenda and therefore will not be excluded in the press and public for any item today. And we are being webcast this time, so an open session. So this is an application, a new application for the whole for Aldi in Old Shoreham Road. I'll just ask everybody just to introduce themselves quickly. So I'm Councillor McGregor, Chair of Licensing. Should we go round the table first and then we'll do on screen? The panel first. Oh, you go.
Rebecca Siddell, the legal advisor to the panel.
Carol Blakey, resident.
Marie Button, I'm the Democratic Services Officer.
Sarah Booker-Lewis, local democracy reporter representing the majority of news media in the city.
Emily Fountain, licensing officer presenting the application.
And you, Julie?
Councillor Julie Cattell, Deputy Chair of Licensing Committee.
I'm Lisa Gilligan, the legal representative for Aldi Stores Limited.
Bethany, do you want to go next? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, Bethany Convert, area manager for Aldi.
And lastly, Councillor Sheard, would you like to go next?
Hi, Councillor Tobias Sheard. I'm the third member of the panel today.
Perfect. So I'll now hand over to Emily to introduce the application.
Thank you, Chair.
Excuse me, sorry everyone.
For an application for a new premises licence for Aldi, 182 Old Shoreham Road, Hove. The application is for the off sales of alcohol every day from 0700 to 2300 with opening hours the same. These hours have been reduced from 0600 to midnight, which is in the original application following agreement with Sussex Police. The application proposes the supermarket selling food, alcohol, toiletries, clothing, hardware and electrical items. And I'll leave it to the applicant to explain the proposed application in more detail. Section 18, the operating schedule of the application, is detailed at Appendix A, and the proposed plan of the premises is in Appendix B. Two representations were received. These were from local residents. The representations raised concerns relating to the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. These can be found at Appendix C on pages 29 to 31 of today's agenda. Conditions agreed with Sussex Police can be found in Appendix D, and a map of the location of the premises can be found in Appendix E. Our statement of licensing policy includes a matrix approach for licensing decisions, which can be found on page 10 of today's agenda. The matrix model recognises the diverse operation and different risks presented by different classes of licensed premises. It provides a framework of what the licensing authority would like to see within its area and gives an indication of the likelihood of success or otherwise to investors and local businesses making applications. This premises does not fall within the cumulative impact zone or the special stress area. The matrix indicates a terminal hour of 11 p.m. in this area. However, the panel should note that there are additional notes that accompany the matrix at 7 and 8 with regard to off licences. In addition, at 1, the notes state that each application is to be considered on its own merits. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the panel for Emily? Perfect. And any questions from yourself, Carol, for what I said? Perfect. So I'll now hand over to yourself, Carol, just to go through your representation, and then we can ask any questions.
I wasn't expecting to have to go through the representation, so there's not really anything that I'd like to add over and above what I submitted and the concerns that we have about potentials for public safety, nuisance, increased traffic, pollution. I think what I said covers it, so I wasn't anticipating that I had to.
No, you're absolutely fine. We've read through it anyway, but it was just in case you just wanted to reiterate or anything you wanted to say.
I don't think so. One thing that I would point out that I'm not sure that you are aware of is the school gates that lead to Hove Park School, which are opposite, and they are opened in the morning for the children to go into school. They're opened in the afternoon for the children to leave school, but they also open them at lunchtime as well. And I'm not sure that you're aware of that. And it's just generally the impact that the store has on residents, and it's not just my house that's affected, although we're particularly affected. And I appreciate that a lot of this comes into planning, but if I tell you, for example, that the rooms at the front of my house at night, I don't need to put the lights on because the light from Aldi is so bright, I can see my way around. So there's light pollution issues. So for me, the less hours that a store's open, sorry Aldi, the better. But I appreciate Aldi's got its own interests, and my interests aren't particularly important to Aldi. But as a resident, the council should be looking after us as well.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the panel online?
I'll go very quickly, if that's okay, Chair.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to make the resident quite aware, and just to ask if they know that what the powers of this licensing panel is, that as much as we might want to or not want to open Aldi for longer or close them for longer, our ability here is purely related to their ability to sell alcohol, and if we decided to not only give them a limited license, they could still trade for them a lot longer than what our license would permit. They just wouldn't be able to sell alcohol after a certain time.
I understand that. I do understand that because I put in a separate objection to the longer hours to the planning.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that you weren't getting your hopes up today for what we could do, our powers wise.
No, my hopes aren't high.
Thank you, Chair.
Any questions from you, Councillor Cattell?
Yes, I was just wondering, Carol, when you started to speak, you said we. Are you talking about your family, or are you talking about wider neighbours and so on, and other residents in the area?
I am talking about my family in particular, but also my neighbours as well.
So have they put objections in?
I don't know.
So they haven't come to you to ask you to be their representative?
And my sister has. I know my sister put in an objection.
Ah, okay. So, but is she a neighbour as well? Does she live in the area as well?
No,
yes, she does.
We live in the same house.
Ah, right. Yeah, that wasn't clear actually, because she didn't put her address on. So, so two of you living in the same house and family are objecting, but you're not acting as a representative for the wider community.
I haven't been asked to, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the other people on the panel? So Lisa or...
No, I have no questions. No questions, thank you.
Perfect. So I'll now head over to the applicant to make their representation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sharon. I did say earlier on when we joined the call to Councillor Cattell, I just want to say thank you for rearranging, and I do appreciate how unusual this has been over the last couple of days, so we are grateful. The application has been set out in your report, and I'm sure that all of the committee will have had the opportunity to read it. Just by way of background, and to give a little bit of context to the application, You'll be well aware of Aldi operating a number of stores in the Brighton and Hove district area. The closest store to this, I believe, is at Port Slade. The application that was originally made for 6 a.m. to midnight was made because that is the standard hours which Aldi now apply for nationwide. This store, it was never intended to trade to that maximum hours. It was more of a future proofing. We then had discussions with the police and brought the application to 7 to 11. There's no mischief in this application. It is the standard hours which Aldi apply for now nationwide. But obviously cognizant of the comments which have been made and the concerns raised by the two residents, I want to be clear in terms of the hours which are sought from 7 to 11. You'll also see within the report at Appendix D the conditions which we've agreed. I won't take you through those line by line because obviously you can read those for yourself in relation to CCTV and Challenge 25. Just sticking with Challenge 25 and the point which was made about the close proximity to a school. Obviously, Aldi do operate Challenge 25 in all of their stores nationwide, and the detailed condition is there. In addition to that, there are electronic till prompts in place to guard against underage sales as well, regular staff training, and I think I would wish to point out to you that Aldi, as a business with over 1,000 stores nationwide, has a completely unblemished enforcement record in relation to underage sales. Not been have no prosecutions in relation to the sale of alcohol to those underage. And I raise that as an indication, really, we don't just pay lip service to this, ensuring and that alcohol is only sold to over 18s. And in fact, all age restricted products is a key priority for the business. Those conditions are there and have been agreed by the police. But I think earlier on, I think it was Mrs. Beck that talked about planning. Obviously, the two regimes are distinct today, and that's already been identified by Councillor Sheard. But just for reassurance, there are restrictions in relation to delivery times, which will guard against, we very much hope, any noise nuisance. There is a car park which has been referred to in the representation. Our staff will undertake to ensure that car park is cleaned daily to guard against littering. There is a car parking eye in terms of security measures. And so we do go a long way, we hope, to being a good neighbour. And I think the comment was made that Aldi won't care about local residents, but it's genuinely not true. With this number of stores operating nationwide, we're well used to operating in residential areas and cognizant of the issues, the potential issues and concerns of residents, and we work very closely with our neighbours to ensure that we don't undermine any of the licensing objectives, but also ensuring that our responsibilities go much further than just ensuring those 4 licensing objectives are promoted. Other than the 2 representations in the report, we haven't had any further representations, and indeed we didn't have a police representation. We were happy to agree conditions and amend the application accordingly once those discussions had taken place. I think we do have Beth Kimber on the call as well, who's the area manager who will be responsible for this store. So hopefully between the two of us, we're more than happy to answer any operational questions, but I hope that gives the background and the context to our application.
Thanks, Lisa. I've got a question. We're discussing about the security. So I know that other stores, Aldi stores, have quite regular security. Is that going to be the case for this one on Old Shoreham Road? Like, will there be basically a regular security guard in the way that there is on London Road?
Lisa, maybe I can take this one.
Yes.
So there isn't to begin with. However, if there's an issue with crime, if there's an issue from a safety perspective, then we would put one in. We've got one in London Road, and we've also got one in Pavilion Retail Park. We don't have one in Portslade because it's not deemed to meet our criteria. So at the moment, it's not a high risk store in regards to kind of criminal activity or safety. But if it does fall into that bracket once it opens, we will absolutely have a look at it.
And we do that as well in conjunction with the police as well, to ensure that any advice, that comes from the police we act upon. We try and our standard practice in these areas is to open the store and then, take matters from there in conjunction with the police, and the police are aware of, our process in that regard.
And what would the process of that be? So, like, what then hits the barrier for, okay, we need a security guard?
So it's incidences in store. So we have kind of our own recording, like compliance recording within the store. If we're logging lots of security incidences, we've had issues in regards to kind of physical abuse or abuse to any members of the public or any members of our staff, then we'd obviously have a look into it. But like Lisa said, it is in relation with the policing as well. But we do have a lot of reporting that we have in place for it.
And just one more question before I pass over to Councillor Patel I know the London Road store very well, but all the kind of high alcohol spirits are kind of locked up in there. Is that going to be the case for this shop, or is it going to be different?
No, it won't when it opens. We do have it in certain stores, predominantly obviously London Road and in London. If obviously it becomes an issue in regards to spirits and theft, then we could look into it, but it won't open with a cabinet in place.
Thank you. Councillor Cattell.
I wonder if I've just reread Carol's letter, and I wonder if Chair, through you, I could ask Carol another question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Carol, in your letter, you say that there was drinking, alcohol, loitering and drinking when Homebase was when it was Homebase in the car park. Is this something? I'm just wondering whether that was when the Homebase was closed, or whether when it was open and operating as a store.
Well, it would have been both, especially when the hours reduce in the summer. You'd get children in there, especially with bikes and skateboards, congregating.
Were they drinking alcohol?
To be fair, it would be really, really difficult to say that they were. I couldn't be categoric and say that they were. But of course, you can't buy alcohol in Homebase, can you?
No, so they obviously, this happened over further up Old Shoreham Road as well, with the where the other, I can't remember what's there now, Burger King and all that up there. There have been
ground.
Yeah, that's it. There were, bikes and skateboards there. I think it's one of those things that there will be, where there's an open space with no cars on it, skateboarders will go. But if you're saying that they probably weren't drinking alcohol and stuff, what sort of disturbance were they causing? Was it sort of, could you hear it? Did you have to call the police at all?
No, didn't have to call the police. I mean, you can see them from the house, or could see them from the house.
So were they causing a specific problem for you?
No, not a specific problem for us.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Councillor Sheard.
Yes, I've got a couple, if you don't mind, Chair. I just wondered if you could start. You said you've got this a very successful record about never being challenged, especially on the Challenge 25 front from your stores nationwide. I was just wondering if you could very quickly run us through how you actually make sure your staff are always following the rules and making sure that, I know obviously upholding to the standard of the licenses that you're required to follow.
I mean, I'll perhaps start, Bethany, and then you can please plug in the elements that I may miss. Obviously, Challenge 25 that, all the committee will be very familiar with in terms of what that policy seeks to enforce. For our members of staff joining the business, there's training before starting work on the tills, and then there is quarterly refresher training, and all of that is documented. But above and beyond implementing Challenge 25 and training with regard to Challenge 25, we also do engage the services of a third party who come in, a third party external business who come in, and they also carry out test purchases on our behalf. So then we can track ourselves, and if we have at a store where perhaps members of staff fail that, we can act upon it without waiting for failure, perhaps whether it might be a council exercise or indeed in inverted commas real life, so that we're adding that additional layer on top, and all of that training, all of that refresher training is documented, so that we're in a position to illustrate that if required. Refusals are also monitored and logged, whether that a refusal for, in this case, obviously we'll focus on alcohol, but there are other age restricted products that we sell in store at particular times of year, such as fireworks. So we're able to monitor that. If there was perhaps a particular trend in an area with people trying for a particular product at a particular hour. So, it's not just we follow Challenge 25 and we put a sign up, we layer on that in a number of ways in store and throughout the business. But Beth, is there anything that you would like to add on that?
No, I think you've covered most of it. We do have obviously consequences in place, a bit like kind of Lisa alluded to, if someone was to fail that Challenge 25 within a store, within an area, which is obviously it's dealt with very, very seriously, and it can go down disciplinary routes for employees, depending on the situation. But apart from that, I think you covered everything there, Lisa.
Thank you. Just keeping on a similar topic, does that training also include people who might be heavily under the influence of alcohol already or any other substance?
Yes, and it is unlawful to sell to anyone who is drunk, and our staff are well aware of that. And I think perhaps speaking frankly, not in relation to this store, but as a nationwide operator, there are some locations where there will be customers who, for a number of reasons, may well be just as you've described, Councillor, and members of staff are trained. But what I would say is we wouldn't wish our staff to be, placed in any danger themselves, and therefore circling back to Bethany's point about security, if that were necessary, or ultimately simply calling the police.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you. One question I had was around if there was any sort of market research done before this site of kind of figuring out who's going to be the customers that are coming. Like, is it going to be more people driving to the shop and bigger, like weekly shop people, or are we is there any kind of market breakdown of just who that kind of customer is going to be? How many people are going to be walking to the shop, picking up little bits for lunch and then moving on, or do you think it's predominantly going to be people coming in a car buying a large amount of food?
I think I'd have to defer to you on that, Beth, in terms of that level of insight.
Yeah, so I don't know about market research. I've not had any shared to me. What I would say is obviously we've got the Portslade store down the road, which is more of a walk-in shop from it's right by the train station. So it has a car park, which means we do get people who kind of come and do bigger family shops. We do get a lot of walk-in trade. As far as I'm aware, obviously from the Hove store, I don't know the area too well, but we have got a big car park. I don't think there's kind of many business parks around there. If there is, that'd be more your lunchtime source of trade. You obviously maybe have the kids, I guess, if they're local, if there's a secondary school near there. But predominantly it will be more family shops because it is a bit more of a destination store with our car park.
Yeah, because what I'm basically trying to figure out is how many people do you think are going to be going there buying alcohol and drinking it immediately, or in the area, and how many people are just going to be buying it to maybe take home through the week, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any sort of analysis on that or it's basically a kind of open and see type thing?
Yeah, not as far as I'm aware. I would say probably our Portslade store is more of a people maybe walking in and potentially drinking it from there, because it's more of a walk-in shop. I would say I've never seen it. I've been an area manager for 6 years. I've predominantly had retail park stores or stores whereby they've had a car park, and I haven't often seen kind of people buying like little cans, let's say, and drinking, apart from maybe the London Road store, but obviously that's very different because it is in town, whereas this stores obviously is quite far away from any, as far as I'm aware, any other shops and stuff which might cause people to walk by drinking their kind of little gin cans. So it's more of a destination shop. It is what we call it in Aldi, which means that people will more likely be driving and doing bigger shops. We also have something called average spend within a store. This store is meant to have high average spend, which again alludes to the fact that it's going to be more people doing family shops or weekly shops rather than shops necessarily for their evening or a couple of lunch bits.
And I think on that point about drinking outside, just one other point to raise is that a lot of our products, meaning you'll have, well, I don't know, I'm assuming a number of you have been into an Aldi store, will be branded, and it will say made for Aldi stores on whether it be, a number of products, including alcohol. So if there were ever an incident, and we sincerely hope there isn't, but if there were ever an incident with street drinking and any sort of allegation, well, they've just been to Aldi and discarded a can or anything's happened, the provenance of the alcohol they bought, because then we have own brand in such a number of lines, not every product at all, but there is that direct line back to us. So I think that would, if there is a problem being caused by, let's say, street drinking with our alcohol, perhaps unlike other supermarkets, we will be more recognisable.
Thank you. Any further questions from the panel? Any questions from yourself, Carol, to the... Yeah.
I just wonder what research you have done that's for results on how the store will impact on the local residents.
I think I'm just as Bethany mentioned earlier, I've not been, I'm not aware of research in terms of impact on local residents. I think what is done is, obviously there are planning restrictions which, have as a high criteria protecting residential amenity. There are, there's legislation which must be complied with. And then thinking perhaps more locally for you, you mentioned perhaps litter in the car park. As the operator of the business, we keep that area clean. In relation to deliveries, there are restrictions on time, and we would seriously, genuinely hope that for local residents, this is a fantastic amenity, a wonderful new supermarket in the locality, which will be employing, up to 40 or 50 people in the area, and we hope will be a positive addition to the local community.
You have questions, Carol?
Questions, no. Observations, yes.
I'm just about to go into summary, so that's perfect timing. So no further questions for everybody. We'll move on to summaries. So I'll begin with the licensing officer, Emma.
Chair, as we've heard, this is an application for a new premises licence for Aldi Hove. Now heard from all the parties present, licensing guidance states that in determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interest of the local community, the licensing authority must give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including supporting information presented by all the parties, licensing guidance and its own statement of licensing policy. The licensing authority must carry out its functions with a view to promoting the licensing objectives, and our policy is framed around those objectives. It is important to note that each application will be given individual consideration on its own merits. After considering all the relevant issues, the licensing authority may grant the application subject to such conditions that are consistent with the operating schedule. The panel decide to grant the application, then any conditions added to the licence to meet the licence objectives should be clear, precise and enforceable. Alternatively, the licensing authority may refuse the application on the grounds that it is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Kath. So it's just a chance for you to summarise your points as a sort of last bit for you to just kind of bring everything together.
I don't think there's anything further that I'd like to add. And whilst I appreciate Lisa and Bethany's comments, it's very objective, and obviously I see it very subjectively. And I see the change in my area. But there's nothing further that I wish to add, and no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the applicant, so Lisa or Beth.
I'll keep my submissions very brief. I would just ask the committee to grant the application as it appears before you, with the revisions that have been made in agreement with the police, and would ask you, in terms of the weight attached to representations, that to be assured of the applicant's commitment to the promotion of all 4 licensing objectives. And I would sort of add that in terms of evidence before you today, I don't think there was anything that would give an indication that by granting the application with the conditions that have been stated, the licensing objectives would be undermined in any way. But thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. So I'll now move into any closing comments from the legal advisor.
I don't think I've got anything to add to what Emily has said. Have you asked all the questions you want and canvassed any conditions that you then? I think it's for you to make your decision.
Perfect. So yeah, the panel will now retire to make a decision. Please note we will be accompanied by the legal advisor and the clerk to the panel, but they will take no part in the decision-making process, and the decision will be sent in writing within 5 working days with appeal rights attached. Yeah, thank you for this very long, long overdue panel, and thanks for everybody for making the time. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience and everything.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Am I released?
Yes, you are.